त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ 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 त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्
Namaste and namaskar to everyone joining us today. Thank you so much for being a part of this global summit on Bangladesh. Today, we will be talking about the genocide of Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh. We are planning to hear from esteemed leaders from across political, religious, and human rights sectors. We have many folks lined up today coming from all over the world who will be joining us. So we really appreciate everyone's participation, both as speakers as well as those of you who are joining us online from YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I will now like to hand it over to Gokul Kunnathji, who has dedicated more than 5 decades to preserving and protecting Hindu Dharma through various Hindu organizations. Currently, he is the president of USHA. And once again, namaskar to everybody, and especially namaskar and thank you to those of you joining us from Bangladesh. We pray for your safety, and I will now like to hand it over to Gokul Kunnathji.
Namaste everyone. On behalf of USHA, I would like to welcome all of you from around the world, especially all our distinguished speakers, who are scholars, spiritual leaders, human rights activists, political leaders, and community leaders. Thank you so much. Today we are going to have an exciting session dealing with the ground realities in Bangladesh. As you know, for more than 8 centuries, Bangladesh have been facing this kind of atrocities on a regular basis. So what is happening there today is nothing new, and we have scholars who will be presenting us accurate information about the history of Bangladesh as it relates to the Hindus who had lived in that region for centuries. We also have spiritual leaders who are going to enlighten us regarding what is dharma in the context of extreme cruelty and violence against our people. So there are many misconceptions regarding how we need to follow dharma, and our very distinguished spiritual leaders will enlighten us on the path ahead. Also joining us will be several political leaders who will express their opinion about what is happening in Bangladesh and give the people of Bangladesh courage to go forward and protect human rights and dharma in that country. Now, as far as Usha is concerned, we are interested in promoting human rights of all people. We are not a partisan body, and we are very concerned about the plight of Hindus in Bangladesh right now. The images coming out of various parts of Bangladesh are not only disturbing, they are shocking. The inhumanity, the terror that is taking place in Bangladesh need to be condemned by people around the world. We are organizing this event and taking many other initiatives to support and help our brothers and sisters in Bangladesh because this is our duty. Hindus in the United States have a particular responsibility to support those who are in distress, who are facing an existential threat from powerful adversaries within Bangladesh and those who support them from outside Bangladesh. We are concerned about this, and we request American leadership and leaders of all democracies to condemn these acts of violence, these efforts to ethnically cleanse Hindus from their ancestral homeland. And we request the entire Hindu world to feel the pain and the suffering of Bangladeshi Hindus. On our part, we will be continuing to monitor the situation in Bangladesh and take necessary steps to educate the world on what is going on in Bangladesh. Thank you very much for joining, and we hope to receive your full support in terms of volunteering, in terms of donation, in terms of ideas for supporting our work, not only in Bangladesh, but various other types of activities that we have undertaken. And thank you for joining us. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Gokulji. At this time, I would like to call Dr. Sachi Dastadar to join us for his comments. Dr. Sachi Dastadarji is an author, human rights activist, and retired professor of urban planning and public administration from the City University of New York. He has written extensively on the partition of undivided India, and today he will discuss how partition impacted the lives of Bengali Hindus. Thank you so much for being here.
Namaskar. Namaskar. I'm not City University, it's the State University of New York. I was a distinguished service professor there and just retired recently. I wrote something for all of us because I've been working on this field for almost 5 decades as a refugee family, but went back to my homeland to see how people are surviving. So I wrote this note called Do Our Lives Matter? Why Our Holocaust is Ignored by All. I thank Sri Gokul Kunnath, a human rights activist, for inviting me to speak on such a life-churning, painful issue highlighted in many of my books and writings. I wish there were more activists like him with unified Hindu and Indian identity, not a sectorial one. This is very important because it is breaking the fatalistic, tolerant, indigenous, suicidal, coward, divisive Hindu identity, which I call, other people have called. Our holistic identity is necessary to progress. I have received threats for defending our people and for opposing our extermination. Luckily, my family and friends support me, including secular Muslims. In decades' work, I can go for long, but I won't. Let me share a few work that I have done. I'll just show you the book. This is somebody's making documentaries and all that based on that. Bengals in the Holocaust. Before that, the same first edition is called Empire's Last Casualty. It's Indian Subcontinent's Vanishing Hindu and Other Minorities, published in 1908. Then because of this, I also wrote this called Living Among the Believers, Stories from the Holy Land of the Ganges. Then recently, this book in America was released, Mukti, Free to be Born Again, Partitions of Indian Subcontinent, Islamism, Hinduism, Leftism, and Liberation of the Faithful. It was nominated for award. And recently, this book has been released, Hudson-Ganga Merger, Joining of America's Hudson River with India's Ganga, Revealing Worldwide Fanaticism, Openness and Oppression. And I started my journey with a Bengali book called Ei Bangla, Oi Bangla, This Bengal, That Bengal. And when I realized whole world has to learn, so I started writing in Bengal. One more thing as to why our pain, genocides and pogroms do not get worldwide attention in the world, as India is the only surviving indigenous culture with, with atheist Nepal, as monotheistic Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Islamic, Buddhist, and atheists get together and defend themselves. But we, India, fatalistic India, can't do that. Growing up in a refugee family in Kolkata in 1960s, we supported left. But I realized that their communalism after visit to our and their homeland in Bangladesh. Most Indians do not know that there are 50 to 60 million Bengali Hindu refugees in India. And West Bengal and Tripura run by East Pakistani Bangladeshi Hindu refugee Indians, whom we call Bangals or East Bengali. I evolved into this issue as I visited my homeland and wrote about my experience with and our hypocrisy. My parents were highly educated. In 1919, Ma stood first in Bengal and got highest number in Bengali college level joint exam in today's Bangladesh and West Bengal combined in 1934, winning 2 medals. Baba graduated possibly in the first batch of Dhaka University in 1920s, then got engineering degree from Britain, and yet had no money to send me to school for first 4 years, as they had to take care of refugee families, my uncles, aunts, grandparents, and more. My wife's mother died when she was a toddler. My wife was a toddler because of partition, as they found shelter in India. Her teenage sister became mother of the family, remaining bachelorette. This was very normal for refugee families. So after our first visit in 1982, we started to build schools, dorms, orphanages there, all run by an oppressed indigenous Hindu minority. The journey we didn't mean to, but we went to Muslim places, but they said they were not going to take money from kafirs. My journey depended as we started Probini Foundation to help the poor and the orphaned in Bangladesh, then West Bengal, Assam, and Mizoram. We have built over 14 schools and dorms in Bangladesh and 2 more in oppressed Buddhist and Christian Mizoram. We are helping 33 schools. Let me invite you to join our ISPAT, Indian Subcontinent Partition Documented Project. Please write for our journal, newsletter, conference, anywhere. Help us if you can, like many people have done. And now somebody is translating that Bengal Hindu Holocaust book, not me, and people are making documentaries. So if you like, please email your address and join with us. I should have used slides to show what I have seen through my own eyes to cover such a vast world neglected issue, but more importantly, censored by us, Hindus, Indians, Muslim majority nations, the world, even sheltered victims in India, left and right. Would you be surprised if I tell you that over 3.1 million Hindus have been killed since Bengal's partition in 1947? Or would you be surprised if I tell you that over 50 million indigenous Hindus are missing from East Pakistan, Bangladesh from 1941 to 2001 census? By 2024, it is easily over 60 million cleansed. Sadly, there are more write-ups about this in Bangladesh than in India or Bengal. Would you be surprised if I tell you that even every single nation around India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Tibet, has killed or cleansed its indigenous minority, and at times minority Sikhs joined Buddhist, Christians, even Muslims for India without any protest from us. This is awful. In the midst of programs, I was able to find some life-turning events, so I'll end with those positive notes. I started this journey, as I mentioned, in 1982 with my wife and babies. That helped me a lot. In addition, we were never afraid of Muslims, and in every situation in Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Burma, we never hid our ethnic or religious identity. This was blessing. We have been helped by locals. This extermination of Bangladesh Hindus is unparalleled in human history, yet rarely mentioned in Bengal, India, and the world. Why? After Dhaka University Jagannath Hall massacre in 1971, by the Army of Islamic Republic of Pakistan and its Bengali allies, 3 million were killed in 1971. In Bangladesh, only 9 months, a very high rate per day killing. Yet no Pakistani, no Islamist, was tried. Why didn't we ask for it? Pakistan, Muslim majority nations, UK, Canada, and even the US gave asylum to mass Hindu killers. Our Nixon administration sent Navy fleet to Bay of Bengal to support the genocide. Why do we forget? Did we protest? Of course, no. Why no one complained? I call this our disease and polytheistic amnesia, as most of the victims are indigenous Hindu minority. We did not and do not protest. Sad, shocking. I am very glad that you are doing this protest. And we like other living animals. Are we like other even animals? Even a docile cow fights back if you take her calf, but we do not. I am inspired by your fight. Most Bangladeshi secular Muslims are demanding genocide recognition of 71 genocide, but why not us? Because most of them, 90%, 90 to 95% were killed Hindu minority. I have written from presidents to ministers to educators to politicians about that. Actually, even I can talk about within India. We support Mizoram. We have a Buddhist place. But Mizoram even drove out 25% of non-converted to Christianity. Do we oppose? Meghalaya, even Christians recently murdered quite a few Hindus there. Pakistani Kashmir. We have a friend who's 26, not 28 or 38, I forget, member have been murdered in Pakistani Kashmir. I was there myself in Kashmir, Pakistani Kashmir, but not one Hindu exists. Why do we not protest? Similar situation is Sri Lanka. Even now, we have created terrorists and all those kinds of things. There are lots of strangers who are with us. On last August 18, 2023, we rebuilt a 1700s Kali Mandir in Bangladesh destroyed in 1950. We are pleased to inform you that the project has received donations from Americans, Indians, Bangladeshis, Bangladeshi Hindu refugees, Singaporean, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian supporters, including a Christian preacher who has sent us a couple of donations. I believe we must establish full rights everywhere. Just doing puja is not enough for me. Even puja, nobody gives sermon to tell you what the puja means. Please protest. Share with the world. Politicians, intelligentsia in multiple languages help the oppressed. Let me end by saying, inviting you to join our Partition Documentary Center of New York by sending your email and phone address. We, as I mentioned, we just rebuilt the 1700s Kali temple destroyed during 1950 pogrom. I helped rebuild a pre-Islamic Shiv Mandir in Pakistan. It was the Muslims in Pakistan asked me in Peshawar. We have established 2 scholarship funds to help extremely poor to be run by a Bangladeshi Swamiji. Please help our next plan to build more endowments to help the poor. We help build a hospital and senior center to be run by a Swamiji in Bangladesh. We want to build Partition Museum. Please help us. Namaskar. Namaskar.
Namaskar, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today and for being here with us today as well. I would now like to call upon Sri Dimon Deb Chaudhry, who is founder and current president of the Human Rights Congress for Bangladesh Minorities. He has dedicated 2 decades to educate the world about the persecution of Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh. He will enlighten us on the persecution and genocide of minorities in Bangladesh in the post-partition era. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks to Usha, and thanks everyone for watching this. It's a great opportunity for me to highlight the harrowing situations faced by Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh. HRCBM, Human Rights Congress for Bangladesh Minority, is an NGO in special consultative status with the United Nations. It was founded in 2003. Next slide, please. Since then, we are working tirelessly, and we received consultative status with the United Nations in 2006. Since 2004, and you remember when that has been the ruling party BNP and Jamaat started a pogrom in 2001 to 2006. So we filed a series of litigation in 2004. Some of them are still pending in Bangladesh Supreme Court, followed by we filed another litigation in 2023. And that is still pending, and that was allegation of genocidal crime. And for the same one, we linked that one to a filing that we have done at International Criminal Court in 2022, alleging that ongoing and recurring genocidal crime and requesting International Criminal Court for prosecutor investigation to the case. In next slide, please. So what's happening in Bangladesh? Pardon. So what's happening in Bangladesh is a 78 years of pogrom. It's a pillaging that is going on since 1946 to 1950, 1952. These are some of the events that you are seeing is highlighted events. I'm not going into other ones as well, but 1964, 1971 is well known to you, 1989, 1990, 2001, 2004, 2012, 2015, 2021, and 2024. And it's continuing, the pillaging, massacre, rampage, raping, you name it, and it continues. In 2023, next slide, please. We filed in United Nations. We have submitted a written statement, as well as we discussed this with United Nations, and it was published this year, June 2024, and we called in United Nations to intervene because of it's an ongoing, recurring genocidal crime that is happening, and nobody in the world knows about it. Now, United Nations took this privilege and they have distributed this to various different countries and organizations. But till date, they have not taken any steps, and they have not even communicated to us what they are going to do next. So what you are observing here is a situation that nowhere in the world you have seen before. It's only happening to Bangladeshi Hindus across the generation, 78 years of agony. It's a heart-wrenching saga. Nobody talks about it. It's a complete silence from the world. If it had happened to any other country, you would have seen an uproar. But in case of Bangladesh minorities, there is nothing. That said, the current situation in Bangladesh is very alarming. Next slide, please. Send our volunteers to Firozpur, Bagarhat, Panchgarh, and Lalmonirhat, and a couple of other districts. After our volunteer visited in Firozpur, they have just said one word: utter devastation. Some of the villages, they have pillaged through the villages. They have raped women and also slashed the throat of a couple of women. It's unbelievable what they have done. They have also not only done raping, destructions of livelihoods and pillaging, they just, even livestock, they didn't, they just destroyed all of them, either burned them down or took them with them. So now you are looking at hundreds of thousands of people on those villages without food and shelter. And no organization that we have witnessed, our volunteers has witnessed, that went in there to provide them rehabilitation or provide them any humanitarian services. The reason we send them is to not only identify those victims, at the same time identify them for humanitarian services. So we wanted to make sure that we are providing the foods and other elements, and also provide the legal services to those victims that are impacted, because you take a truck of food and clothes and everything, it would be looted right now in this condition. So we wanted to make sure that we can able to reach out to those victims when opportunity exists. And if you look at what's happening with the interim government today, there has been contradictory statement. Some of them downplayed what's going on in Bangladesh. Some of them said that it's exaggeration. So state of denial, lies, and deceits has been there, all past government and present government, and it's going to continue. The plights of Hindus will never end in Bangladesh until and unless we create a certain legal instrument through which we could bring everyone to justice for past and present. So we need to unite. You need to support these initiatives, not only helping the people on the ground, at the same time bring international legal instrument to bear to make sure the state cannot continue to do this. This is a state-sponsored, whether you agree or not, state-sponsored, and also the intolerance, religious intolerance ingrained within the social fabric of Bangladesh. Islamization is complete. Next slide, please. So we appeal to you, please write to United Nations, write to international authorities. We need immediate intervention from United Nations. They could do this intervention under Chapter 4 of United Nations, and also join our call for the prosecutor investigation in the International Criminal Court. You see the reference, note down this reference, OTP-CR-12-22, and call on International Criminal Court. You can go there. If you are an NGO, you can submit your request, support us in our initiative in the International Criminal Court for genocidal crime against Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh. Together, we can achieve at least justice for some of the previous and present crimes committed against our people. And thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar, and thank you so much for being here and sharing your thoughts with us today, as well as the presentation. I will now call upon Gokulji to introduce our next speaker.
Our next speaker is a person who is stationed in Bangladesh right now. He has been there for the past 3-4 weeks. However, we are not disclosing his name, image, or location due to the potential risks that he could face in Bangladesh right now. So his inputs, his concerns, his observations at ground zero will be very valuable to Hindus around the world. And this particular segment of this summit will be conducted in a question-answer format. And I will request our speaker today from Bangladesh to describe what was it like after the resignation of Sheikh Hasina. How did the Hindus in Bangladesh feel? What are your observations?
Very much, Gokulda, for allowing me to speak. I'm not sure if you can hear me well because I'm in a open
Yes,
space right now.
we
Okay,
hear
thank
you
you.
fine.
Okay, thank you. So the thing is that for over decades, like the pattern of minority atrocity in this country is following a similar pattern. Any sorts of unrest, any sorts of election, during any sorts of government changing situation, miscreants are always alert, always prepared just to hit their target. It's not like they choose randomly. They are well prepared and they know where to hit and when to hit. So what happened on the 5th August as soon as the government fall? So especially in the vulnerable village areas, remote areas from the cities, they targeted those places in the most. And also inside the cities also where the some like the cornered well like near the madrasas and big mosque areas, they always targeted the smaller places occupied by the minorities in this country. So on the 5th actually didn't happen a lot, but after the night, I mean like on the 6th August, it started in the full scale. So primarily they targeted the politicians belonging to minority communities. Like at the very first on the 5th, they killed a councillor in Rangpur as the only Hindu councillor in the Rangpur district. I mean the BNP and Jamaat goons actually they captured him from his temple premises, like his home temple premises, and drag him in the city center, and they beat him to the death, and they hang his body in the Rangpur cities for like over 5 hours. And at that time, there is no law and order in the country. And since the police administration and most of the police forces also under the rage of the violent mob, so they took the full advantage of this situation. So primarily they attacked the politicians belonging to Army League or like more close to Army League, activists and so on. And the minority members inside the law and order forces like police, like RAB and so on, some other elite forces. So they are the first, the blow they just faced. And after 6th and 7th, they started the remote areas like village areas, like the shops of the Hindu owned by the Hindus, mostly. like actually Buddhist and Christians communities are not that much affected at that time, but mostly the Hindus actually. Uh, and then it's even on the 15th and 16th, I had a lot of message from the northern part of Bangladesh in Dinajpur and so on, like Lalmanirhat, Dinajpur district, especially the bordering areas. So still they're just committing arson and so on, and then vandalizing and looting their domestic animals and so on, and the crops and so on. So hope I don't want to hope actually, but it seems like it might go on like in this scale, maybe 1 or 2 weeks more. So
Okay.
yeah,
So,
this is the current condition.
Bhaiya, could you tell us, is there a um, uh, um, is there a slowdown in the type of atrocities that are being committed, or there is an escalation of what has been going on since the 6th?
Yeah, actually, we thought that after 12 or like after 11th or 12th, maybe there is a postpone or like I just like to say there is a they will lower the scale of like atrocities. But unfortunately, last 2 days we got many newses from the remote areas, as I told you, on the 15th and 16th as well. So actually, nobody can say that like the things getting better. Maybe is because of this is the first time I noticed something different. Like the Indian and international medias are very vocal. Like I was a little bit surprised that it never happened before. Even 2 years back, there was similar atrocities happened during the Durga Puja festivals for a local issues. They just picked and attacked the Hindu communities, and also before some other elections period of time. But this is the first time I saw that international media, especially the Indian ones, I mean, they started like highlighting these issues, and they are sending the correspondence here, and they are taking some reports from the ground level. But even though we have the news of atrocities right now, yeah, I don't want to say to stop. Like it's like maybe the volume is getting lower and lower, but the pattern is always present here, and we don't know uh, when it will stop. Because I noticed something something like mysterious. Like I thought that right now there is a caretaker government, like that don't belong to any political parties. So there was no minority issue politics this time. If the militaries and the interim government, like this caretaker government, we say, if they wanted, I thought that it could be possible to make it very low, very low. But I feel that maybe they intentionally let those perpetrators know that maybe you can do what you want to do. We are not going to force you to stop. I feel it because this is not the country is not under the government right now. Like it's a half semi-military authorities under the it's present in this country right now. If they wanted, they could. This is my opinion. Since it is happening, I mean, they are not taking enough measure to stop it right now.
Okay, wonderful. I have several questions. So I know you can talk for hours and hours, but given the short time we have, please make your remarks briefer. My next question is regarding the targets that the attackers choose in the last 3-4 weeks. Could you give some description, some
Yeah,
information on the
yeah.
types of targets that they are choosing?
Yeah, so far in the last couple of last 2 weeks, I just noticed actually, and even in previous time also, like is India-Bangladesh border, especially the West Bengal side actually. So most of the time they attack those areas from the north, like the chicken neck, the northern part, like we call it like Lalmanirhat, Dinajpur, Rangpur, and these areas like is beside the North Chobbish Pargana, South Chobbish Pargana, and also the like Sundarban areas. So in these places, actually, a lot of minority people actually they're in good numbers, more than 10 to 15%. So when any sort of like unrest in the country, they basically attack the bordering side. So it's because I think that if they attack, the people quickly go to the border and try to enter in India, and it has been happening since last 5-6 decades. So they have a pattern. I mean, they still have this target because in the middle of the country and the other parts, the escalation is not that high. The way they targeted the like West Bengal part, Bangladesh districts, they especially focus on those areas and try to specify those vulnerable people so that they can easily flee and leave their properties and so on.
Okay. In particular, could you elaborate on what are the targets of the Islamists, the radicals?
Basically, in my opinion, they targeted the people who has the land properties, because some people are very poor, they don't have any land properties and so on. If they feel threatened, so they go to the cities like Dhaka and Chittagong, and they started living there in slum areas. But some people have the like a good amount of like land and like properties and businesses, especially suppose in a village, one very rich family with a huge amount of land, they targeted the family so that they can terrify, even they hit the one family, it will make vulnerable to other small families. They feel that if Mr. X is a very powerful man, he's a rich man, he's educated, he has very good connections in politics and business and so on, he couldn't able to save himself. So if he feels, if he feels that, or he leaves the village, maybe most of the people follow him. So this is a very old way of like threatening people, like hitting the most significant one first and severely, so that he can flee. He may flee, or then rest will. We don't have to go door by door, door to door to threaten others.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you moving around within where you are located so that you can gauge the public reaction to the changes taking place there, including the attacks on Hindus? What does the mainstream or majority of Bangladeshi Muslims think about what is going on there?
Okay, the thing is that the secular minded people, the secular and liberal Muslims that belong to the political party Awami League, which was recently like lost his place from the power. So
Mhm.
right now the mob is like BNP and Jamaat people on the street. The people who some of the people who speak for the minorities is belong to Awami League. So right now, even nobody says that I belong to Awami League party and so on. They are all in like they are busy to hide their identity. They belong to, or they support, or they are the supporters, or they are the activists, or they are the member of Awami League party. So right now on the street is a very few people, very few people who can raise their voice. Previously, it was a very small number, 5 to 10% people raise their voices for the minorities. Right now, it is 1 to 2%, but their voice are so low that even they're in danger.
Yeah. So
So
they are fearful of the repercussions if they talk in public or share
Yes,
their
absolutely,
sympathy for
absolutely,
Hindus.
absolutely. They're like under same pressure the minorities feel always.
We have seen some recent clips where large number of Hindus have assembled, especially in Dhaka area, and protested against these injustices, the atrocities. Um, do you think that this is going to gain momentum, or Bangladeshi Hindus are still under fear?
The thing is that as I told before, like there are two parts. Some are in the village areas, remote areas, not in the city. So the affected people mostly in the bordering districts and the remote places. In the city, sometimes maybe they destroyed a barber shop, a sweet shop owned by the Hindus and so on. But city people are not that much affected the way they targeted the remote areas. So city people this time feel the heat and so on. I don't know. Before they raise their voice in a much more lower, but this time most of them came out of home and show the protest and so on. Maybe it's because of the volume of news published by the outside Bangladesh. The media belong to India and Indian Western medias. So
Okay.
maybe they got some courageous, like some people raised their voice. So why not we came to the street and show them, yeah, we are under threat. So it's because the city people didn't hit hard, so they still have some power to stand. So they came out of the home and just hold the street for a while. You
Okay.
see that all the protests in the Dhaka and Chittagong and big cities, not in the village or remote areas.
Yes.
That is the
Understood.
reason.
Understood. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you live in a Bangladesh in future where we can have your face shown, your name written on the screen. Um,
Thank you.
and I hope you remain safe and your family
Thank you,
remains
sir.
safe.
Thank you.
Uh, we are praying for all the Hindus in Bangladesh, and we will be continuing our support from all the countries around the world for those who are in distress. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Nice of you, Dada. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Dada, for coming and speaking to us and for the courage it takes to do that. We really appreciate it. So next, I would like to call on Dr. Andrew Bostom to come and join us. Dr. Andrew Bostom is a retired physician, author, and historian from Rhode Island. His books include The Legacy of Jihad, Islamic Holy War, and The Fate of Non-Muslims, and The Legacy of Islamic Anti-Semitism. He will give us a glimpse on what has happened in the name of jihad, especially in India, based on his research. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on this tragic and solemn occasion. Here's a ghastly overview of the plight of Hindus in Bangladesh that I could find following Sheikh Hasina's recent ouster. Quote, by the 5th of August, all hell broke loose. Jihadi mobs started burning homes, molesting and raping women, murdering men, looting Hindu-owned businesses, and specifically destroying Hindu temples. A list of 54 such instances was compiled on the 6th of August. This was only the tip of the iceberg, unquote. That tally as of August 9th was up to 205. An Indian commentator noted, quote, the plight of Hindus in Bangladesh after the fall of Sheikh Hasina is not new. It is not the first time that Hindus are being persecuted. The systematic and institutionalized ethnic cleansing of Hindus was inevitable because no Muslim society will stray from their religious doctrine for too long, unquote. What is the doctrinal and historical basis for that claim past as prologue? Jihad war is laid out in the Quran, especially in Surah or Chapter 9, the final Quranic revelation according to Muslims, the traditions of Islam's prophet and his first Muslim followers in the Hadith, and the earliest pious Muslim biographies of Muhammad, so-called the Sirah, regulates the overall relations between Muslims and non-Muslims. Jihad is to be waged until the establishment of global Islamic hegemony under Islamic law, the Sharia, if at all possible. And this is very much a living Muslim ambition, unfortunately. A 2007 University of Maryland survey of 4,000 Muslims, 1,000 each from Morocco, Egypt, Pakistan, and Indonesia, reported that 2/3, not a fringe minority, wanted the reestablishment of a global Islamic caliphate with the strict application of the Sharia. Islam's 7th century prophet Muhammad was the prototype jihadist who aggressively subdued the Jews, Christians, and pagans of the Arabian Peninsula via massacre, pillage, enslavement, and rape, and brought them under nascent Islamic law, as Muhammad himself is alleged to have asserted in the Hadith, quote, "I have been made victorious with terror," unquote. Muhammad's central principle of jihad terrorism is also rooted in the Quran. For example, verses from the 8th surah or chapter, the 12th and 60th verses, and verse 33:26, i.e. to terrorize the enemies of the Muslims as a prelude to their conquest. Contemporary validation of this concept has been provided in the mainstream Pakistani text on jihad warfare by Brigadier S.K. Malik, originally published in Lahore in 1979. Malik's treatise was endorsed in a laudatory foreword to the book by his patron, then Pakistani President Zia al-Haq, as well as a more extended preface by Ala Buksh Kabrohi, a former Advocate General of Pakistan. This text, widely studied in Islamic countries and available in English, Urdu, and Arabic, has been recovered from the bodies of slain jihadists in Kashmir. Brigadier Malik emphasizes how instilling terror is essential to waging successful campaigns of jihad, which he deems, quote, the Quranic concept of total strategy. And here's his basic thoughts boiled down. Quote, terror struck into the hearts of the enemies is not only a means, it is the end in itself. Once a condition of terror into the opponent's heart is obtained, hardly anything is left to be achieved. It is the point where the ends and the means meet and merge. The essential pattern of the jihad war is captured in the classical Muslim historian al-Tabari's recording of the recommendations given to Omar bin al-Khattab, the second so-called rightly guided caliph, to the commander of the troops he sent to Basra in 636 CE during the conquest of Iraq. Omar reportedly said, quote, summon the people to Allah. Those who respond to your call, accept it from them. But those who refuse must pay the poll tax out of humiliation and lowliness. That's Quran 9:29. If they refuse this, it is the sword without leniency, unquote. By the time of al-Tabari's death in 923, jihad wars had expanded the Muslim empire from Portugal to the Indian subcontinent. The brutal Islamization of India dates back to the initial early 8th century Arab-Muslim jihad ravages. It was followed by the subsequent more extensive campaigns under the Ghaznavids. These were Islamized Turkic nomads who annihilated the indigenous Hindus of Afghanistan by the mid-9th century. Through the Delhi Sultanate period, around 1000 to 1525 CE. An estimated 70 to 80 million Hindus were slaughtered during the Delhi Sultanate campaigns, but due largely to bowdlerized Indian and Western educational and public discourse on Islam, even many modern Hindus remain ignorant of both this history and the Quranic and Islamic law injunctions, which inspired the brutal waves of jihad conquest and Muslim colonization of India. The Muslim chroniclers al-Baladuri and also al-Kufi, the latter in a chronicle called the Chachnama, include enough isolated details to establish the nature of the early conquest of Sindh in modern Pakistan by Muhammad bin Qasim around 712 CE. These narratives and the processes they describe make clear that the Arab Muslim invaders intended from the outset to Islamize Hindu Sindh by conquest, including ruthless and indiscriminate slaughter, enslavement of many of the survivors, pillage and desecration of their religious temples and shrines, followed by colonization and ongoing local conversion. Practical, expedient considerations led Muhammad bin Qasim to desist from carrying out the strict injunctions of Quran 9:5 and Islamic law, i.e. just to convert or be killed, by ceaseless massacring of the infidel Hindus of Sindh. Instead, he imposed upon the vanquished Hindus the jizya, the Quranic poll tax, again per Quran 9:29, and its associated restrictive regulations on religious practice, inequality in penal law, pauperizing taxation, and other discriminatory practices, dress codes, jizya collection rituals, this is the poll tax collection rituals, which included blows to their necks in mock execution, and even spitting in their open mouths, designed to debase the Hindus. Thus, a lasting pattern of Muslim policy towards their Hindu subjects was set that would persist, as noted by the Indian historian R.C. Majumdar, until the Mughal Empire collapsed at the end of Aurangzeb's reign around 1707. Quote, on the whole, the framework remained intact, for it was based on the fundamental principle of Islamic theocracy. It recognized only one faith, one people, and one supreme authority, acting as the head of a religious trust. The Hindus, being infidels or non-believers, could not claim the full rights of citizens. At the very best, they could be tolerated as dhimmi, subjected peoples, an insulting title which connoted political inferiority. The Islamic State regarded all non-Muslims as enemies, to curb whose growth in power was conceived to be its main interest. The ideal preached by even high officials was to exterminate them totally, but in actual practice, they seem to have followed an alternative laid down in the Quran, again, Quran 929, which calls upon Muslims to fight the unbelievers until they pay the jizya with due humility. This was the tax the Hindus had to pay for permission to live in their ancestral homes under a Muslim ruler, unquote. Illustrating the continuum of these practices, the Sufi theologian Sirhindi, who died in 1624, typical of the authoritative Muslim clerics of his era, declared, quote, cow sacrifice in India is the noblest of Islamic practices. The Kafirs, Hindus, may agree to pay jizya, but they shall never concede to cow sacrifice. The real purpose in levying jizya on them, the Hindus, is to humiliate them to such an extent that on account of fear of jizya, they may not be able to dress well and live in grandeur. They should constantly remain terrified and trembling. It is intended to hold them under contempt and to uphold the honor and might of Islam, unquote. Elsewhere, Sirhindi, illustrating his deep-seated hatred of all non-Muslims, wrote, quote, whenever a Jew is killed, it is for the benefit of Islam. Indeed, the earlier Muslim conquest and colonization of historical Palestine in the 7th century was characterized by the same massacre, pillage, enslavement, and rape of the indigenous Jews, the largest population, Christians, and Samaritans, followed by the hateful and degrading imposition of Islamic law on the surviving vanquished populations, as later occurred with regard to the Hindus and Buddhists of the Indian subcontinent. I'd like to conclude with the honest, forward-looking, and realistic optimism of the great Indian historian of the Mughal period, Sir Jagannath Sarkar, written in 1950, still undeniably true, albeit now largely taboo. Quote, Palestine, the holy land of the Jews, Christians, and Muslims, had been turned into a haunted desert inhabited by poor diseased vermin rather than by human beings as the result of 6 centuries of Muslim rule. Today, Jewish rule has made this desert bloom into a garden. Miles of sandy waste have been turned into smiling orchards of orange and citron. The chemical resources of the Dead Sea are being extracted and sold, and all the amenities of the modern civilized life have been made available in this little oriental country. Wise Arabs are eager to go there from the countries ruled by the Sharia. This is the lesson for the living history. The implication was clear that Sarkar harbored similar hopes for Hindu India and its Muslim inhabitants and Muslim neighbors willing to abandon the supremacist, discriminatory, and backward mandates of Sharia-based Islam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Boston, for joining us today and for the research you do, as well as the books you've published. So thanks again. I would now like to call on Moshumi Sarkar. She is an entrepreneur and community activist hailing from Bangladesh. She will discuss how Bangladeshi immigrants in America look at the plight of her, she will look as a Bangladeshi immigrant in America at the plight of her own family and friends.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And my name is Moshumi Sarkar, living in New York since 1994. And thank you, Gokul-ji, for inviting me. Before we ask how India, America, and other countries can help Bangladeshi minorities, we must understand that 250 times more atrocities happened, but no media from Bangladesh covered any of that news. If you see, there is a pattern how they are attacking Hindus in Bangladesh and 95% Muslim denying what is happening. In international news like New York Times, they put the title name first: Hindus in Bangladesh face revenge attack after Prime Minister's exit. 2 days later, they did the correction: Hindus in Bangladesh face attacks after the Prime Minister exit. And BBC Bangla didn't even cover any news about Bangladeshi Hindus, how they are getting attacked and everything. So over the first 3 years, 3 days, I'm sorry, from 5th, we were unable to contact our families to know if they are safe, because no one wants to talk. Everyone is afraid to talk, even now, because they says maybe the call will be recorded. So I kind of like blank still now how they are doing. But even though I heard there is some people from my family, they get attacked and their houses looted and demolished by the Muslim mobs. So now I'm requesting the American Indian representatives to pressure the Bangladesh government to do the quick trial who vandalize and loots the minorities' houses, temples, and give them money to rebuild the houses and temples. Um, this is a big concern for as a minorities from Bangladesh. I am in New York and I'm just try to do what I can. We are trying our best to help our family friends in Bangladesh, and I hope we all can work together and find a solution. And thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate and thank you for your concern. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us today, and we pray for the safety of your friends and family. I'd like to bring Gokul Gunnatji back onto the stage to introduce the next set of speakers.
Before I introduce the next speaker, I would like to make a statement that Usha believes and Hindus around the world believes in coexistence. If you look at the holy land of all Hindus, which is India, it has thousands of years of historical legacy of living with multitudes of religions and followers of especially Abrahamic religions. So we hope and pray that the 1.8 billion Muslims in the world and the 1.3 billion Hindus in the world and almost 2.2 billion Christians and 14 million Jews in the world, we all can live in this planet in harmony and peace. But the violent forms of Islam, which has been a historical fact, is incompatible with modern global aspirations. We need to move on, and it is time for the Islamic world to consider real and significant reform so that we are not called kafirs or infidels anymore. And in this regard, we applaud the decision of the Islamic leadership in Indonesia. They have stopped calling Hindus kafirs. This is very significant because when hatred is scripturally sanctioned, then the consequences are real. So, having said that and made that clarification, I would now like to introduce our next speaker, Param Pujaniya Swami Paramatmananda Saraswati Ji. He is a senior disciple of Pujya Swami Dayananda Saraswati Ji, who had founded the Arsha Vidya Gurukulam and many other Hindu social, spiritual, and interfaith organizations. Pujya Swamiji is also the founder of the Arsha Vidya Mandir in Rajkot, Gujarat. He also heads the Shivananda Ashram in Karnavati in Gujarat. Apart from all these activities, he is also the Secretary General and convener of the Hindu Dharma Acharya Sabha, the apex body of all Hindu Acharyas of Bharat, representing several million Hindu monks. And I request him to share with our audience today about the position taken by the Acharya Sabha on the developments in Bangladesh and how the Acharya Sabha can inspire and motivate Hindus around the world to follow and protect Dharma as per your guidance. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you, Gokul, and namaste to all those who are online. The developments in Bangladesh are very disgusting and very disgraceful. It's so painful, you feel helpless and wretched that you can't do anything. And some of the videos are so painful that you just can't sleep for nights together. So it is, and I'm sure all of you must be sharing the same pain with me. And that's what Acharyas felt all across India. But because, not because of the lack, only empathy. There was an empathy, all right, but the sense of helplessness that we can't do anything to them being another country. So finally, but then we decided to do whatever little we can as of now with limitations, state limitations and all that. So at least we have to raise the voice on, and then we have to convey certain message to people of Bangladesh, Hindus especially, both minorities, Sikhs and other things also. First of all, we had a program in Gujarat, Ahmedabad, and then we prayed for those souls who were killed and their antyeshti, nothing could have been done. So there was a prayer. The program was presided by none other than Shankaracharya Dwarka Pitha, and there were prayers for the departed one. And all of them, even Swami Narayans, are doing prayers on every weekly sabha they have. So whenever there is a weekly congregation, they pray for Bangladeshi people. One. Secondly, we conveyed our, what you can say, solidarity with them, that all of us are with you in these times of crisis for them. Thirdly, we wrote to government, and I think we all should write to government, that we are sure that government must be exerting diplomatic, pressure through diplomatic channels to protect Hindus. As far as the bona fides of these two who head the government are concerned, we can be rest assured that they are 100+% commitment to Hindu Dharma and Hindus. So they are doing, but we still want that international pressure to be exerted. And we also offered to them that all the saints are with you in when the things are relatively normal, and any kind of help to those refugees or Hindus in Bengal they need in terms of food, in terms of clothing, in terms of some shelter and money, whatever. So Gujarat saints are there with you, and we are committed to help them out. So it would be good if we can all convey to government that this whole society is backing up. We can consider raising funds, or once the things are clear what they need, there is no need of raising the fund, and some substantial amount to do some projects, rebuilding the houses or temples or places of worship or whatever, or those who are injured, providing the medical services over India across the border, bringing them and putting back them, etc. We say. Thirdly, we also we mentioned very clearly, though it started for the change of power, it is an internal matter who should rule the country, and the students may have grievances. And though it seems to us, we mentioned that though it is on a very small issue, trivial issue, it has started, but it looks like that there is a hidden agenda. And or it turned deliberately those fellows waiting for an opportunity have been they're waiting for opportunity to butcher Hindus and work against Dharma. They are using it, and we wrote to Prime Minister that you should protect however interim you are, but you should have duty, and that also we should keep writing to the Prime Minister concerned. And another thing, we said that international agencies who create all hue and cry in the name of human rights everywhere, especially whenever there is against other than Hindu, very surprisingly and shockingly they are silent. Also, United Nations also is silent. And none of the political parties, nations, have raised the issue in United Nations. So there is no official thing on the statements or action on the part of United Nations. Though on 9th and August, it expressed concern when the power change took place. But about this genocide, UN has been very diplomatically silent. So we should write to United Nations, and we have written to them, all human rights organizations and United Nations Secretary General in particular, that you should assure when you're working for world peace, this is a genocide, not some random killing of Hindus here and there. And so all human rights bodies should be at least, we should register the protest and their silence on this issue. So that also we did it. And also we requested that our political parties, cutting across the political differences, ideological differences and political agenda, they should commit to helping all minorities. So including Christians and Sikhs and Jains, they are suffering over there. Of course, but Hindu community is almost 90%, 95% suffering. So that's what I wish we, all of us, can take up. And well, there is no point in describing the pain and the agony that we feel. Sense of helplessness, which creates tremendous stress and very much sometimes sense of guilt that the way the women are being raped, they are harassed, way they 10, 12, some of the videos are so much painful. As I said, you lose sleep. So let's hope, and regularly I pray also, and let's pray at least, if nothing can be done, prayer also we can do it, and it will help them to alleviate their pain and grievances. And I'm happy to know that Hindus have united and created some pressure. And day before I got some videos that army is now protecting ISKCON temple and all that, but it is too late also. Whatever, at least Hindus are safe in ISKCON temple area. And this may be police protection in Dhaka or some major cities, but down the line in villages and small towns where Hindus are in minority, they are still vulnerable. And we don't know what has happened to them. They may not have survived even to send those videos. But that also we wrote to the Prime Minister, and we have to register that. And if possible, all encompassing all these points, Gokul can raise a social media campaign that we support these few things, our United Human Rights and Bangladesh government, our appeal to them, and we stand by Bangladeshi Hindus. So they at least feel that somebody is with us. Though we will not be able to help it out physically as of now, much help I don't think we can deliver. And some policy also government will have to make. Of course, there is a law to provide citizenship for all the Bangladeshis, But as of now, the borders are not open because they are pushing Muslims also, along with Hindus. And there are a few other issues also. But I am sure later on government will open up the borders for Hindu community, and as the law has been passed in the parliament, so they should be getting citizenship. But it's at a later date. And once they come back, then again RS has been doing good work. I have been giving three, four, two places I gave certificate of citizenship to group of Pakistanis and Afghanis settled in Rajkot and Ahmedabad and all that. They are identifying them and they're helping them the process to get the citizenship, get necessary certificates and all that. So that also we'll have to do once the Hindus come back. Those who want to migrate back to Bharat. So this is all things we can do, and at least nothing we can do, we should pray. That also is one kind of karma, deliberate karma, seeking help from Ishvara. So when we are helpless, we should seek help. That's what I wish that all of us may do. And I appreciate your efforts, Gokul. And you may also consider of floating a site or something on social media where it becomes a movement. People are supporting them, they are standing by them and registering protests to United Nations and Bangladesh President on 3 such sites. So number of should be enhanced, increased. So many people are against this. That kind of message should go to government of Bangladesh and of course United Nations. With these few suggestions and with these efforts that we put in the Acharya Sabha, which I shared with you, should you have any suggestions that we can do something more, we are willing to do, and you may send me suggestions as well, or to Gokul, he will forward it to me. Namaste to all the participants, and thanks and all the best wishes to Gokul for his commitment to Hindu cause and his organization. Namaste.
Thank you, Swamiji. Pranam. We are very fortunate to have your advice and guidance all the time, and we'll definitely be in touch as we improve and strengthen our efforts to support Bangladeshi Hindus. Our next speaker is Param Pujya Jagat Guru Shankaracharya Shri Shri Abhinava Shankara Bharati Mahaswamiji, hailing from Kudali Shringeri Peeth. Just a short introduction of the revered saint. He has traveled extensively in Bharat. He is a renowned scholar of Vedas, the most ancient sacred texts of the Hindus. He is currently the 72nd Shankaracharya of the Kudali Shringeri Mahasansthan Dakshinamaya Sri Sharada Peetham in Kudali. Since his appointment this year, he has started several social activities as well, including Veda Pathshalas and helping students from northeastern part of Bharat. Today, we request Swamiji to enlighten us on what Shastras say about protecting and preserving Dharma during these troubled times so that we are clear and we don't live in any kind of illusions or ambiguities.
Yes.
Swamiji.
Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yatkripa tamaham vande paramanandamadhavam. As Sri Gokulji said, what should we do in such situations? All the speakers have been describing what is happening, and the media and the social media is displaying what's going on. Therefore, I don't have to say what's happening. But we have to think, how can we avoid such situations in the future also? To understand that, we have to look back and how our ancient people lived. As Gopalji said in the beginning, the current modern aspiration is to live a good life in metropolitan city. The definition of good life is decided by the market forces. Therefore, we will not go into the details or the discussions about the modern aspiration of a good life. We have to look back and look at our ancient people's lives and study our own history, which is in the form of Purana and Itihasa, to understand what we should do for the future generations to live and avoid such genocide. When we say the times have changed, we understand, or we try to express that everything has changed and it is the time that is causing the change. But how time can cause the change? If you look at the nature of time, we have to take the help of Mahabharata to understand the nature of the time. All of you have read Mahabharata, and most of you know the Mahabharata war. And post the Mahabharata war, after the Mahabharata war gets over, Bhishma is laying down on the arrows, and the Pandavas are crying that they have killed all the people. At that time, Krishna scolds Pandavas and says, "You people are stupid, and a great scholarly person is laying down on the war field. Why don't you go to him and learn something useful?" At that time, they go to Bhishma and ask, "How can we lead this nation for the prosperity, and how can we rule this country?" So the Bhishma starts speaking, and he explains so many things, including human psychology, state polity, how to build the army, etc. At the end, the Yudhishthira questions him, "Kalova Karanam Raja, Rajava Kala Karanam." Is it the king who causes the time, or is it the bad time that causes the bad king? Essentially, the Yudhishthira is trying to ask, is it the bad king who causes the bad time, or is it the bad time that brings the bad king? Then the Bhishma answers, "Iti te samshayo ma bhut raja kalasya karanam." Oh Yudhishthira, don't have such doubts. It is the Raja who causes the time. Essentially, what Bhishma is trying to say is it is the policy that creates the situations. Create a situation in terms of polity, in terms of collective thinking, in terms of education policy, in terms of economical policy, everything. It is the policy that causes the condition. The current condition, whatever condition we are living today, it is caused by the policies that have been made by the previous policymakers, isn't it? Let us take an example. Every Bharatiya person, irrespective of the caste, creed, etc., gender, etc., used to have certain kind of weapon in their hands. According to their own abilities, their own social background, economic background, their professions, livelihood, etc., they used to carry different types of weapons with them. And most of the people knew how to use a weapon in their lives. That was natural. As we wear the clothes, carrying a weapon is also necessity and natural. But the Britishers understood this, and they thought, if all of this weapon carrying population unites and comes against us, we will not survive. Therefore, they made a policy that you need a license to carry a weapon, and carrying weapon is illegal without the license. after 2-3 generations, the people forgot how to make a weapon and how to carry it and forget about using it. Now, if you give a weapon to in somebody's hand in Bharat, they get scared. This is the change that has been caused by a policy by a invader or colonizer. In this manner, the current situation is also caused by the previous policy makers. Therefore, we have to be careful while making policies, and also we have to hold responsible policymakers for the current situation. We might be raising funds, we might be creating, doing some charities, we might be writing to the United Nations, etc. All these things are fine, but we have to hold responsible those policymakers who caused this. And also the thought process or the ideology or the religion that causes such genocides. It also has to be held responsible. The one more aspect in today's time is, oh, Hindu Dharma is Sanatana Dharma, it is the most peaceful religion, etc. The definition of peace has been changed by the Western people. We are considering ourselves as peaceful in their terms of peaceful nation. The definition of peace is different in Bharatiya Hindu Sanatana Dharma. Peace is possible only when you have the strength. The other person or the opponent or the enemy will get scared of you and won't attack you only when you have the strength. So with that strength, you can hold back your enemy and create peace or bring peace. In that manner, our ancestors fought battles to bring peace. They did not avoid the battles to bring peace. When we say we are peace-loving people, we knew how to fight battles. Therefore, we were peace-loving people. We have to understand this. And also, it is a wrong notion, as Gopalji said in the beginning. There is a wrong notion in today's generation that, oh, Bharatiya Hindu Sanatana Dharma, it cannot be destroyed. Yes, of course, Sanatana Dharma cannot be destroyed in a conceptual context. But if there is no population that practices the Hindu Sanatana Dharma, how it can be protected? How it can be undestroyable? Therefore, while building societies, while educating our next generation, apart from educating them to make great careers in today's modern corporate world, we have to also teach them how to protect themselves. At least learn to use a weapon. Individually using a weapon is for self-defense. Collectively organizing and having organized strength is also necessary to face such situations. For example, a mob is attacking a village. If a village was trained and organized enough to resist or defend the village, the situation would have been different in Bangladesh today, isn't it? Therefore, however modern we are, however developed we are, we have to have the martial training even in today's time. That is the natural process. We should not think that carrying a weapon and getting trained to use the weapon is something primitive and the Western world or the modern world or media has portrayed the Hindu organizations, grassroots level organizations as militant organizations. Therefore, people don't want to associate themselves with the grassroots level organizations like Bajrang Dal, etc., who used to fight on the streets. Therefore, the recruits have dropped and nobody wants to associate themselves with such organizations today, because the image, the reputation has been tarnished by the Western media, that if you organize yourself and fight for yourself, you are militant organization. So in the process of making themselves modern, people have started considering themselves superior, and such grassroots self-defense organizations as inferior and militant organizations. This has to go. We have to strengthen our grassroots defense organizations. The defense in the sense, not government defense. The government has to do what it has to do. But as a society also, we have to have our own defense, organized defense and individual defense. Both are necessary. It is said in the Shastras that Shastrena Rakshite Rashtre Shastra Charcha Pravartate. In a Rashtra, a Shastra Charcha, or production of knowledge and spreading of that knowledge, or making use of that knowledge, is possible only when that Rashtra is protected by the Shastra. Shastrena Rakshite Rashtre Shastra Charcha Pravartate. You want to develop as a nation, you want to evolve science, you want to evolve technology, you want to have good life. Everything is possible only when that Rashtra is protected by the weapon. So we cannot leave all the protection job to the government, and military cannot take care of all the protection, individual or collective protection. It can take care of the borders alone. Therefore, each Hindu home should think about having weapon martial trainings, and villages collectively should have trainings, weekly or periodic gatherings to train themselves, organize themselves the way Samartha Ramadasa did. If you study the life of Samartha Ramadasa, you will understand what I am talking about. He trained farmers to use weapons, and those farmers helped Shivaji Maharaj to fight battles. So the kind of work that has been done by the Samartha Ramadas Maharaj has to be done again to face such situations. I think in this short time, that's the message I can give. If we get some more time, we can talk about it in details. Thank you, Ram Ram.
Pranam Swamiji, if you can stay on for a few more minutes, that would be great.
Yes.
This message is relevant because in modern times, especially after the British had come to rule over vast areas of Hindu population, there is a misconception that dharma is going to temples, going to ashrams, doing puja, and we don't have to worry about society. So could you enlighten our audience as to how we make sure we have a strong, vibrant, dynamic society which will nourish our individual aspirations?
In the Gita, Krishna talks about Swadharma. Swadharma means not personal religion. In the Western world, the religion had become so dominant and exploitative that they had to come up with the concept of religion as a personal belief. You believe in something and you keep it to yourself. So therefore, religion can become personal, but dharma cannot become personal. And it cannot be practiced in the closed door. Only worship can be done in privately, but the dharma is related to entire life. Worship can be a part of life, but dharma cannot be part of life. Dharma is entire life. This difference has to be understood by the current generation. The current generation thinks that dharma is part of my life. I am a Hindu. That identity is part of my life, and my life is a larger thing, and the dharma is a small part of my life. So when you consider or translate the dharma as religion, only then it becomes a part of life or personal worship kind of thing. But in Bharatiya scriptures, or in Bharatiya context, or in Hindu context, true Hindu context, dharma is nothing but life. The life has to be led according to the dharma. A life has to be lived according to the dharma. So that dharma varies person to person. For example, we have 4 ashramas: brahmacharya ashrama, grahastha ashrama, vanaprastha ashrama, sannyasa ashrama. It varies person to person, ashram to ashram, varna to varna, age by age also. According to the context, it changes. Let me give an example. Doing a homam or yajna or some ritual is mandated by Shastra to a grahastha, a married person. So he's supposed to do it. But just because it has been mandated by the Shastra and praised by the Shastra, and it gives a lot of good results, a sannyasi cannot perform it. It has been negated to the sannyasi. For the grahastha, it is vidhi, but for the sannyasi, it is nishiddha, negated. So this negation is not universal, or this vidhi prescription is also not universal. Some people are mandated to do it, and some people are prohibited to do it, based on the context. If a sannyasi starts behaving like a grahastha, immediately the society starts scolding him. Oh, why are you behaving like a grahastha? Similarly, if a grahastha starts behaving like a sannyasi, starts talking like vairagya, etc., immediately the same society will ask him, hey, why are you talking like a sannyasi? So, in the context of grahastha or the family, a sannyasa is a prohibited aspect. But if the same sannyasi comes in front of them, they will bow down to him. A sannyasi is respected, but not the sannyasa is not adapted to everyone. The anukarana, imitation. If somebody tries to imitate the sannyasi, they will scold him. But the same sannyasi is respected. So, despite sannyasi having the respect, the imitation of sannyasi is prohibited. So, in this way, the entire life is based on dharma. A mother's dharma is to have children, nourish them, protect them, educate them. That is her dharma, matru dharma. That is called matru dharma. Similarly, she has patni dharma also. So, if everybody fulfills their own duties, that is their swadharma. How this swadharma is defined? It is defined based on many aspects. We can have a conference on it. So, in this way, dharma is nothing but life, or life has to be lived according to the dharma. So in this context, we have to understand the dharma not as a personal worship that has to be practiced privately. I think I answered your question.
Yes. Swamiji, these days, when Hindus show any concern for fellow Hindus, they are termed as political, as if this is not part of Dharma. We know that Swami Vivekananda had said that you are not a Hindu unless you feel the pain of your fellow brothers and sisters anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Could you please give the guidance to all Hindus who are ignorant of the true import of Dharma, so that whenever there is injustices done against Hindus, Hindus spontaneously respond to the situation as required?
So, if you take a look at the essentials of the dharma, there are 4 essentials in one context. The 8 essentials are in a different context. Daya is one of the most essential part of the dharma. Daya, and also the paropakara. Paropakarartham idam shariram. Even it is said that paropakarartham idam shariram means this body has been given to you to do the paropakara, to help others. So, helping others is nothing but dharma. So, if that dharma involves some political activity, that political activity also becomes the dharma. For instance, Rama's wife was kidnapped by somebody. And as a Pati Dharma, his personal Dharma, Grihastha Dharma or Pati Dharma, his duty is to find out and protect her from the Ravana. Pati Dharma, he fulfilled that duty. So after that, but to achieve that, he has to unite all the people along the way. While traveling to the Sri Lanka, he did a lot of political activities, isn't it? Having a tie with Sugriva and convincing him to provide an army is nothing but political activity, isn't it? But he did through friendship. He did through his personal character. So to fulfill the Pati Dharma, he had to do a lot of political activity. After killing the Ravana and bringing back Sita to the Ayodhya, now he is a king. He has to fulfill his Rajadharma, isn't it? To fulfill the Rajadharma, he has to do a lot of activities, political activities. He has to appoint ministers. He had to spy on a lot of people. Even spying is included in the Rajadharma, isn't it? A Raja has to find out what's going on. To find out, he has to appoint spies. So spying on somebody is also dharma, if he is a Raja, isn't it? Similarly, if somebody is helping a friend, that is mitra dharma. To help a friend, if you have to convince, or if you have to approach some political organization, if you have to approach some government organization or some government official or prime minister or international organization, whatever it takes to help your friend is nothing but mitra dharma, isn't it? So in that way, if you are helping out your own community, isn't it dharma? So considering political activity as some sinner activity or some sin comes from a different context. In their mind, doing some politics is sin because the politicians used to be exploiters. Mainly, if you study the global history, the world's history, you will find out that most of the politicians had been exploiters. Therefore, politics means some exploitation. The connotation is such. But Raja Niti and Raja Dharma are nothing but dharma. Therefore, there is nothing wrong in doing politics.
Swamiji, in ancient days, as per the Puranas and Itihasas and other texts, we see individuals who display asuric tendencies and for which our people had gone to war against them, destroyed these asuras. Now, when you compare to the acts of those asuras to the acts of asuras in Bangladesh and other parts of the world who are showing such inhumanity, what advice do you have for Hindus to act?
As I said earlier, villagers or small town people or communities periodically meeting each other in a place, discussing intellectually training and also physical training. Let us take an example. In a village, there are 500 houses, 500 families living in a village, and there is a temple or some banyan tree or some place where they can congregate themselves. Weekly meeting there, all youngsters can meet on some place, and all the ladies can meet in different place. All the adult male can meet in a different place. So in this way, they can have 2 or 3 places where they can meet based on the age, gender, etc., and have strategies intellectually and as well as physical training, resources, etc. In this way, if they start training themselves, within a year, they will be a different village. If such thing happens, they will be able to face it. Otherwise, if there are some people within the village, they will be able to deal with them. So, collective action is possible only when you are used to do something collectively. some charity, some philanthropist is coming to a village, and he's giving some charity, and everybody is coming and collecting their gifts and going back to their homes, is not some training to face something. This kind of philanthropy is going to destroy the country. If you want to help somebody, you have to train them. Gifting something and going away is not charity. So, in this way, the organizational work has to happen in each villages. Therefore, I gave the example of the Samartha Ramadas. What Samartha Ramadas did is he established or he consecrated Hanuman Murti, Hanuman idol of Hanuman in each village, and he sent people. He used to attract farmers and come do Surya Namaskar in front of the Hanuman. So it was kind of a worship for them, but in the excuse of in the garb of or in the mask of under the mask of Hanuman worship, he gave a lot of training to these people, and those trainings were well utilized by the Shivaji Maharaj later. Similarly, we have to create a chain of volunteers who will go to a village and gather some people there and have some strategies, have some plans, have some discussions, and weekly trainings or monthly programs, etc., has to be done to train themselves. They cannot accept the help from outside the village. They have to strengthen themselves to face the problem.
Thank you, Swamiji. As always, we look forward to your guidance in the future and really appreciate these words of wisdom. And I'm hopeful that all Hindus will listen to this sane advice. Thank you. Pranam. Our next speaker is a revered saint from the Pejawar Mutt, Param Pujya Swami Sri Sri Vishwaprasanna Tirtha Swamiji. I'm sure many of you have heard about the Pejawar Mutt. In the previous decades, significant amount of good work was done by Param Pujya Sri Sri Vishweshwara Tirthaji. And today we are fortunate and honored to have Puja Swamiji, who is the Pithadipati of the Pejawar Mutt. He is a person who speaks several languages, but more importantly, what he speaks is all about dharma. And in the true tradition of Madhavacharya he has continued the torch of knowledge, and she's sharing that with the whole world. And we are extremely happy that he is with us to give us some guidance and some words of wisdom. Pranam Swami. Swamiji, please, you can start.
Gokulbhai, I think while we're having some audio issues, perhaps we can move to the next speaker and come back in a few moments. You are on mute as well.
Next speaker is ready.
So I think we can go ahead and introduce Dr. Ajay Shah, who is backstage with us right now. Dr. Shah is a co-founder of the Hindu Students Council and a longtime Hindu community leader. At present, he's the president of World Hindu Council of America. I'll bring him on right now. Thank you so much, Dr. Shah. And I think you need to unmute yourself as well.
Okay, can you guys hear me and see me and everything is good?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
thank you.
Good. Let me just adjust my camera just a little bit. So I'm in the center. So first of all, thank you and namaste for inviting me, and most importantly, thank you for putting together this really comprehensive webinar. I think it is absolutely the need of the hour. There is a ethnic cleansing, religious ethnocide that is going on in Bangladesh, and as global Hindu community, whatever we can do to help prevent that is going to be historically important. I'll tell you why. Yesterday I saw on a Twitter news feed or X news feed that there was a Hindu infant who was snatched from the parents and killed. We have seen the pictures of violent attacks against Hindus. People have been killed, women have been raped. There's so many mandirs that have been destroyed, and the killings just keep going on and on. And really, we have to go back in history to understand why this is happening. When India was partitioned, it was really partitioned based on two slogans. The first one was Pakistan ka matlab kya hai? La ilaha illallah. That means, what is the meaning of Pakistan? It is, there is no God but Allah. So there's only one form of worship, one God, one book, and everyone else have to either convert or die. And the other one was Lad ke liya Pakistan, ab has ke liya Hindustan. So we have taken Pakistan through struggle. We'll take India with a smile. But let's consider the first one, because that is what we are seeing the manifestation of right now. But in this kind of achieving this goal of there is only one meaning of Pakistan, there is no God but Allah, there's only one hindrance to that. And that hindrance is the Hindu population in Bangladesh. When India became independent and Pakistan was carved out, the eastern Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, was 28% Hindu. So how do you get rid of these 28% Hindus? And what we are seeing now is all the effort going towards that. So really, hundreds of millions of Hindus have been killed since the Muslim invasion began. And we all know about the genocide of Jews that took place, which we call it Holocaust, where in a four short years, 6 million Jews were killed. But Hindu ethnic cleansing, genocide has been going on for centuries, and that is why not much has been reported on that, because it's become a daily routine. Bangladesh was 47% Hindus in 1871. At the time of independence, as I mentioned earlier, it was 28%. It was then reduced to 15%, and today it stands at only 7.5%. So one of the Pakistani authors, when he was talking about in context of Pakistan, he wrote a book about this, and his name is Farnaz Isfani, and he told PTI that what is happening in Pakistan, and the exact same thing applies to Bangladesh, is what he called drip genocide. So really, it's a very slow rate genocide that is happening, but it's genocide nonetheless. Just imagine going from more than a quarter of almost a third of a population being Hindu to today, it stands at 7.5%. So this is the drip genocide in Bangladesh. We all know about Noakhali riots in 1946, where over 12,000 Hindus were killed. There's a quote that says that the men were forced to wear skull caps, women were stripped of their sindoor and shankas, and they were forced to recite kalma and become Muslims. They went from village to village and did that. During the Bangladesh independence movement, 3 million Hindus were killed. And during 80s and 90s, in the Chittagong Hill Tract insurgency, where Buddhists and Hindus were fighting for their survival and their rights, tens of thousands of Buddhists and Hindus were killed. The temples have been destroyed. All this while we just basically did nothing, really, except we helped in the liberation of Bangladesh, and that didn't help Hindus either. But if you look at the Noakhali, hundreds of temples were destroyed. In 1947, another widespread destruction of temples. And I'm just highlighting the main events. In 1971, Pakistani military went and their collaborators, the Razakars, went from mandir to mandir destroying the mandir. During the Babri structure demolition, over 200 mandirs were destroyed. In 2001, there was a post-election violence in Bangladesh, just internal Bangladesh problem. And again, dozens of Hindu temples were destroyed. And just as recently in 2021, when the Durga Puja attacks took place, during the Durga Puja, the attacks took place on Hindus who were just exercising their faith. Over 100 Hindu mandirs were in Bangladesh were destroyed. Okay. So we know that this time, the violence is unprecedented. There's an ethnic cleansing that is brewing. The goal in Bangladesh, again by the Razakars, the Islamists, the extremists, is that they want to bring down the number of Hindus, which have gone from 28% to 7.5%. They want to bring it down to what it is in Pakistan, which is about 1%. And so all efforts now that they are putting is towards reducing the population of Hindus. They want Hindus to just disappear, go to India, die, convert. 3 options. Right? And the question for us is, are we going to allow this ethnocide, religious ethnic cleaning, this genocide, are we going to allow that to take place? That is a question for all of us. Now the Hindus are responding. This is a really positive sign that in Bangladesh, Hindus have taken out massive rallies. They're getting organized at a village level. They're getting organized at town level, city level, to protect the areas where Hindus live, where the temples are. But they cannot do it alone. There are rallies, and so we all global Hindus have to stand up for these Bangladeshi Hindus and help them in a way that will protect their existence in the land where they're indigenous. They've lived there for thousands of years. They should not have to flee. They should not have to leave their homes in order to just be alive. Right? So as VHPA and Hindu Pact, we have taken out rallies in Houston, in Washington, D.C., and in Bay Area. I know that there were other rallies that have taken place in New York and Detroit, where some of our people have participated. And I also know there are more rallies being planned around the US. There are also rallies that happen around the world, in India, in UK, in Australia, in Canada, everywhere in the world. There are rallies happening to voice our support for the Hindus in Bangladesh, to impress upon the human rights agencies like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch to come be vocal, join the cause of the Bangladeshi Hindus. We're trying to tell the governments, right, that look, I mean, you cannot have this kind of genocide happen. For example, we and other organizations, Hindu advocacy organizations, have done signature campaigns, and tens of thousands of signatures have come have been sent to the politicians. There have been statements from politicians, various congressional representatives, senators who have come out, and they are also lending their support for the survival of Hindus. And I know that some of them were speakers in today's webinar. But there's the need for a stronger statement from the US State Department. There's also a need for a stronger statement from the White House. It is imperative that we hear statements from Trump and Harris campaigns because their involvement in this movement to protect Hindus, to save Hindus in Bangladesh is absolutely crucial. The Bangladesh military must be told in no uncertain terms that this drip religious ethnocide of Bangladeshi Hindus will not be tolerated by the civilized world. They must rein in the violent Islamists who are in their midst. And the indigenous Bangladeshi Hindus must be reassured by these governments and by the elected representatives and those who are running for offices that we, the global Hindus, are standing with them and our votes are standing with them. So they have, if they want Hindu vote in America, they have to make stronger statements, and they have to put those statements in action. Hindus are united around on the social media, so there's unprecedented amount of support on social media, but we can always do more. And finally, I would say that I would tell the Hindus of Bangladesh that there are 1.5 billion Hindus who are standing with you, standing here for you. We are going to do all we can to help you. Please do not feel that you are fighting this battle alone for survival. Your survival is the survival of global Hindus. We will always be with you, and we'll always be here to help you in any way we can. Again, Shohini, Gokul, thank you very much for giving us a few minutes. So on behalf of VHP America and on behalf of Hindu Pact and all other Hindu Mandir Empowerment Council, HMEC, I would like to say that we are doing grassroots level activities across the country to show our support for Bangladeshi Hindus. Thank you and namaste.
Gokul Bhai, I think you are on mute again. If you'd like to restart the introduction.
Okay, I'm told Pujya Swamiji is back and ready. We are honored to have the Peethadipati of the Pejawar Mutt, which is known around the world for its spiritual and seva activities. This is a mutt established by the great Madhavacharya, and we are fortunate to have Param Pujya Sri Sri Vishwaprasanna Tirtha Swamiji, who is a person who speaks several languages, but he conveys and transmits the wisdom of our sacred texts to people around the world. So thank you, Swamiji, for being with us and giving some guidance today. Thank you.
कृष्णं वन्दे मन्तपाशधरं दिव्यार्धकाकृतिं शिखाबन्धप्रयोपेतं भैष्मीमध्वकरार्चितम् आपदाम् अपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। बांग्लादेश में जो हिंदुओं का हत्याकांड हो रहा है, इसको हम कड़ी बातों से विरोध कर रहे हैं। बांग्लादेश के हिंदुओं के साथ हम हमेशा के लिए रहेंगे। हमारे ओर से क्या होना चाहिए सब मिलकर बता दीजिए, हम इसमें हम भी भाग लेते हैं। जो अभी हो रहा है वो तो अत्यंत हेय कृत्य है, खंडनीय है। हमारा हिंदू धर्म में धर्म मतलब सबका साथ सबका विकास है। किसी को दुख पहुंचाना हिंदुत्व में कभी भी नहीं है। हमारा सोच है सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु। हमारा भारत देश में ऐसा किसी को हम नुकसान नहीं पहुंच रहा है, परंतु हमारे हिंदुओं के लिए बांग्लादेश में अभी जो इतना विरोध हो रहा है, इतना नुकसान पहुंचाया गया है, हत्याकांड हो रहा है, इसको हम खड़ी बातों से विरोध कर रहे हैं, खंडन कर रहे हैं। भगवान हमारे साथ हमेशा रहेंगे, आपके साथ हम भी रहे हैं। आपका जो मदद हमारे ओर से चाहिए बता दीजिए, हम इसमें भाग लेने के लिए हमेशा के लिए तैयार हैं। आपदाम अपहर्तारम दातारम सर्वसंपदाम लोकाभिरामम श्रीरामम भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। हमारे इस कार्य में जो भी आपत्तियां आएंगे, श्री राम जी का अनुग्रह से ये पूरा आपत्ति दूर हो जाएगा। हम सब हमेशा के लिए सबको भला हो, हम राम जी से प्रार्थना करेंगे, कृष्णा जी से, भगवान कृष्ण से प्रार्थना करेंगे। यत्र योगेश्वर कृष्ण यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीः विजयः भूतिः ध्रुवानी तिर्मतिर्मम। कृष्णार्पितमस्तु।
Pranam, Dhanyavad Swamiji. We hope to receive your continued support and guidance in the future. And thank you for joining us.
जरूर।
Our next speaker is the Mathadipati of the Putikaya Matha, located in Udupi, Param Pujya Sri Suganendra Tirtha Swamiji is also from the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, and this mutt is approximately 750 years old. And to continue this tradition for centuries of serving the people and guiding all Hindus about spirituality and the dharmic way of life is not an easy task. And Pujya Swamiji have built temples not only in Bharat but also in the US and other countries. So we are very thankful to Pujya Swamiji for sharing his valuable time. At this occasion, I request him to share some words of wisdom and guide us on our path to protect Dharma.
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। व्यासाय भवनाशाय श्रीशाय गुणराशये हृद्याय शुद्धविद्याय मध्वाय च नमो नमः। प्रथमो हनुमन्नाम द्वितीयो भीमयेव च पूर्णप्रज्ञः तृतीयस्तु भगवत्कार्यसाधकः बुद्धिर्बलं यशोधैर्यं निर्भयत्वम् अरोगता अजाड्यं वाक्पटुत्वं च हनुमस्मरणात् भवेत्। आपादमौलिपर्यन्तं गुरूणाम् आकृतिं स्मरेत् तेन विघ्नाः प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति च मनोरथाः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। First of all, we appreciate the effort from the organizers for this kind of meeting regarding this Bangla issue, and I'm very glad to notice the steps the organizers for this solving this problem. And actually, if you think about this problem, and this is deep rooted, we think, and it's not only big conspiracy is going on behind this issue, and like Nepal, how it was destroyed, and as a Hindu country, like that is the next step of that plan. We think that like that, so we should have the joint effort to solve this problem. And first of all of us should be united and think seriously how to solve this problem rather than just mentioning this is the problem. And we should find out the solution for this. In that way, we appreciate the efforts of the organizers here, and whatever possible from us, we are ready to do that, and we are ready to solve this problem. And anyway, this is the problem which is deep rooted, and also it should be given the urgent notice for this. And we think that government can take this step to solve this problem. First of all, government should bring the common civil code in India, and also they should restrict the citizenship for Indians. So if this problem will be solved, and part of the problem will be solved, and also we should protect Hindus in Bangladesh, and not only in Bangladesh, in Australia and in Canada, we see this kind of similar problem everywhere. Hindus are attacked and Hindus are targeted. So these organizations should work together and take all kinds of the problem, and we hope this organization will continue to solve this problem once again. In that way, we offer our special prayer to Lord Sri Krishna, Udupi Sri Krishna and Mukhya Prana. Once again, we pray Lord Sri Krishna to bless everyone here.
Pranam Swamiji.
Thank you so much. I would now like to call Sri Bhava Jain to the screen. He is currently the General Secretary of the Millennium Peace Summit of the Religious and Spiritual Leaders held in New York City in 2000. He co-founded the religious initiative of the World Economic Forum and is a creator of the Gandhi King Award for Nonviolence. At present, he is the General Secretary of World Council of Religious Leaders, besides holding various posts in interfaith organizations. He will speak today about the dangers of extremism and intolerance in light of the targeted attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh. Thank you so much for being here.
Namaste. I hope you can hear me well. If not, just let me know. Namaste, Gokulji, and all the people who organize. I must say it's a heavy heart. I'm joining you today for this subject. I hope it was the circumstances. I'll begin by one thing. We talk about intolerance, just historical fact. The word tolerance was adopted by us in 1968. We are now in 2020. And tolerance really is not a positive word. It means I tolerate you, I hate you, I make you, but we can move that. Respect is what we want. This is argued for passionate. Respect. I respect me. Go back to 1893. Swami Vivekananda, Parliament of the World's Leaders. Some 130 years ago, spoke passionately about the divide, the hate, the prejudice, the extremism. And today we are facing, never before. What is happening in Bangladesh should be condemned in the strongest terms. And for me, I always believe in myself, but what is more important than myself is our collective self. We put ourselves good, but I want us to consider our collective identity. When we speak to that, work towards building a collective identity, then we all benefit. Each of us then gets involved in that our own esteem is, and we can begin to do things. This incident in Bangladesh would never have happened if we had been successful in building our powerful hub. I always like to give an example of, look at the terrorist acts or the terrible bias prejudice, even in the USA, across the university campuses. The rise of anti-Semitism, Hindu phobia, attacking, to the extent that even on the Indian parade, there are people protesting the front of the Parliament. This is most sacred to us Hindus. Can you imagine if anybody else of another faith wanted their religious symbol of sacred space to be on a float, and they want people to condemn it. This is because we are not collectively together. We have not succeeded in law. Every congressman, every legislator, every state official of every state in the United States of America must understand that Hindus are a collective identity of over a million people. We are the strongest and most active when it comes to the economic side here in America. We are the highest taxpayers. We must make our voices heard. That will happen when we come together collectively. Extremism and any kind of hatred on the world, we must come together and strongly. Ways that we have to work together. People like my always love to give examples of Jewish people. Look at the happened in the Holocaust. Look what's happening today. It happens irrespective of their differences, come together because it is a collective identity. This is what I would humbly appeal to all the Hindus, all the different religions. And get up, rise up, stand together, work together. We must not allow these any place in the world. We have a great leader. He talked about what we do here in America impacts the world. I know Muhammad personally for over 3 years. Okay, he's not a man who believes in this ideology of hate and divide. He's a good man. Let's work together to build relations. So immediately we can stop the persecution in Bangladesh, bring the Hindus together, and build our identity and make a lobby even stronger.
Thank you, Babaji. Our next speaker is from Bharat. He is known to many of us who is on this call, on this event. Mananiya Shri Alok Kumar Ji is a senior advocate of the Supreme Court of India. He was a pracharak of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh during the emergency times. He had fought for democratic freedom in Bharat. And today he is the president of Vishwa Hindu Parishad Bharat. And we would like to receive some guidance and his suggestions in terms of how to mobilize support for Bangladeshi Hindus worldwide.
Thank you. Namaste. Bangladesh had been a difficult terrain from even before its birth, from even before the birth of Pakistan. The worst riots had happened in 1946 in Noakhali, and they were so brutal in magnitude and in its consequences that Mahatma Gandhi chose not to come to Delhi for Independence Day. He stayed in Noakhali for 8 months, walking barefoot from village to village to establish peace. It had thereafter been a recurring affair, prominently so in 2001, when the BNP and the Jamaat had won the elections. There was a severe post-poll violence against the Hindus. Even in 2021, during the reign of Awami League, it was reported that a Quran was found placed beneath the idol of Hanuman, and it started riots again in the whole of Bangladesh. The police later found that the Quran was placed there by a Muslim. There is a particular mindset amongst a section of the people of the majority religion which defines jihad in a particular way, which justifies attacks, murders, abductions, and rapes. That mindset is a challenge to the civil society of the world. This time when it happened, there was a very widespread reaction in the whole of India. 2 days back, some 40,000 Hindu women assembled before the Parliament of House, expressing their solidarity with the Hindus in Bangladesh, and similar events have taken place in all parts of the country. Though it happened late, but then it has happened that even the Bangladesh, even the United Kingdom, the America, the United Nations, after a sustained effort by the Hindus and the government of India, have expressed their concern on this violence, have expressed their solidarity with the Hindus in Bangladesh, and have called upon for the cessation of all hostilities. For the time being, it seems to have had an effect. The chief advisor of the Bangladesh, when he reached Dhaka, in his first statement, criticized the attacks on the minorities and said that if they are not stopped, he may resign. The cabinet in its first meeting passed a resolution calling for a halt on the attacks on minorities. And the president and the Prime Minister Hussein was in a tactical move. He met Hindus not in his office but at the Dhakeshwari Devi temple. The Vishwa Hindu Parishad had raised 3 demands. 1. The safety and development of the Hindus in Bangladesh should be assured. 2. The damages suffered by the Hindus and their religious places, they must be assessed, and the government should come up to pay the damages to the Hindus to rebuild what they have lost. And 3. The perpetrators should be punished for it. In theory, the government of Bangladesh has accepted all those 3 demands. It has happened earlier also. But then, after a few years, it recurs. Bangladesh and India share a long road border. Our interests, economical interest, commercial interests, trade, and everything lie in peace and friendship together. The electricity supply, the petroleum supply, and the food supplies to Bangladesh are of a substantial measure. It appears that the government of India and the Prime Minister particularly, in its first congratulatory message to the chief advisor in Pakistan, had stressed the need to secure safety of Hindus. It appears that for the time being, the efforts are succeeding. I have not heard of any major attack since this Wednesday. The lasting peace shall be when a strong India, a powerful India, along with the world community, is able to convey to the people of Bangladesh, particularly of the majority, that the only way to survive in the present world is by friendship, is by amity, is by secularism. And any attack on secularism, any attack on the minorities invites discords, violence, in which it is not only the Hindus that would suffer, it would be the Bangladesh as a whole that would suffer. I hope that the sanity will continue to prevail, and we in India will continue to support the Bangladesh in the path to peace and progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Alokji.
Looks like you may be mute. You are muted, Soiniji.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I would like to introduce Congressman Shrita Nidar, who is a new member of the United States Congress representing the 13th Congressional District of Michigan. He is a vocal advocate for Israel and India and is the moving spirit behind the Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, and Jain American Caucus in the U.S. Congress. He will discuss the importance of political empowerment in the Hindu community. Thank you so much for being here.
Soiniji, thank you. I want to thank the USHA, the United States Hindu Alliance, for hosting this global summit. This is a very important time, and it is important that we all come together and ensure that we fight for the rights of the Hindu community across the world. I am the 5th Indian origin US congressman, and I currently serve on the Homeland Security Committee. And I have been fighting for the Hindu community for a long time. We have seen a lot of attacks on the Hindu community, whether it is attacks on temples. There are about 20 different temples that have been attacked in the United States alone. And we have seen bills like the California SB 403 that unfairly targeted Hindu communities. And now we have seen atrocities in Bangladesh. And I have been in contact with the State Department and asking the State Department to work with the Bangladeshi interim government to stop all these atrocities, compensate the Hindus who have lost homes and property, and ensure that the rights of the minority Hindus in Bangladesh are protected. So that is what I am working strongly with the State Department to ensure. I am a little disappointed, and I have communicated that to the Biden administration, the complete silence of President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Secretary of State Tony Blinken on the atrocities that are happening here in Bangladesh. They have assured me that a lot of what's going on currently is negotiations through the diplomatic channels on all of these Indian continent countries to ensure that justice is served. And so they tell me that it's more effective for them to quietly but firmly negotiate and continue these deliberations, not in the public forum, but in the private negotiations and through diplomatic channels. So that's what I've been told. But we need to really fight and look, terrorism and attacks are happening all across the world. I stood with the Jewish community and the country of Israel when Hamas and the terrorists brutally attacked Israel on October 7th. Similar situation is happening elsewhere. And our plight, Hindus' plight, is not very different from that of Jewish community. And we need to fight these forces that continue to attack peaceful citizens who are practicing their religion in a peaceful manner. What I've urged the Hindu community to do is to strengthen our hands, my hands, so I can continue to fight for the Hindu community. Hindu community needs to continue to be active, politically active. And I'm particularly thankful to Gokulji and the entire team of Usha for organizing this summit. We need to continue to raise our voices, continue to fight, because unless we fight and strongly condemn and rise, we are not going to stop this. So I urge all of my Hindu brothers and sisters to join me in this fight, to continue to protest and send a strong message that we will not tolerate such atrocities. We will not tolerate such discrimination. We will not tolerate Hindu phobia, and we will not tolerate such bigotry and such hate. And we need to stay all united. It's so important for us, all of the Hindu community, to unite and be politically involved. You can reach my office, tanadar.house.gov, if you need any assistance. But I have been helping with the Hindu community all across United States in many issues that have come up. Reach out to my office, tanadar.house.gov. My name is Congressman Shri Tanadar, and I'm here to help all of you and making sure that we fight for the community.
Thank you so much, Congressman Thanedarji. I really appreciate the work you do, and thank you for your support.
Thank you.
I would now like to call on our next speaker, Falguni Pandyaji. She is the co-chair of the New Jersey Hindu Democratic Caucus, which is part of the Hindu Democratic Coalition. She is also a Hindu clergy and works at the intersection of politics and faith, leveraging interfaith collaboration. She will discuss the importance of political participation by Hindus. Thank you so much, Falguni ji, for being here.
Namaste, Sohini ji, and all the organizers for this wonderful platform to talk about current issue and what we do, solutions going forward. I also am very grateful to have Congressman Thanedar speaking just now with all of us, and his words, I'm sure, have resonated along with the words of many other religious giants who came and spoke before me. There is a lot to learn. I'm going to simply just focus on how we become politically stronger and how do we support and create more people like Congressman Thanedar. And I think that has a lot to center around, yes, we have to fight, yes, we have to stand up, yes, we have to do this and that, but at the core of it, we have to do all of this work that we do in the political arena, just like we do in our homes as a Hindu identity. We have to strengthen our Hindu identity and show up in the political circles, in the interfaith circles as Hindus, at least at the core of all we do. We have been very successful in businesses. We have taken a lot of active roles. We have impacted the world in a very, very positive way. Political circles seem in need for us to step up and take a seat at the table. And how do we do that? We do that by being engaged where we are at our local level. We can contribute first and foremost by voting. Hindu vote matters. So let's show our strength simply by showing up to vote. Secondly, getting involved in your local town politics. Building relationships is very, very important. Joining hands with the Jewish community in your town has been politically very, very aligning because we have the similar values, similar backgrounds, and similar challenges. That has shown a lot of collaboration and strength, and they have stepped up. For us, I have gotten lots of calls from my Jewish friends in the wake of Bangladeshi Hindu genocide. So that's our political ally, our friends. I would also encourage everyone to learn the intersection of faith and politics, what tools we have available in America. America is the most powerful country in the world. And taking a seat at the table here, that means we get the platform to raise our voice, protect vulnerable Hindus all around the world. So I encourage everyone to get involved, starting with the local politics, starting with voting, starting with getting to know your Congress people, and follow your Swadharma. Swadharma also means that you are good at different things that you do. So pick your field of interest. If you like writing, then become a political journalist. If you like building relationships, then do that with your mayor or with your town council or with your Congress or with your assembly people. And if you are into business, please do support people like Sri Thanedar and all the politicians who give us a voice. And let's bring forth our Hindu values of humanity, of Vasudev Kutumbakam, and including everyone in our quest for global good and for raising the consciousness of the humanity. I rely on words of many giants, and I recently have heard Sadhguru also spoke about how to see the world as from a mother's eye and become a mother to the world. And when you see the world from that compassion and from the core of spiritual humanism, I think we will find a way to connect with many communities, bring allies together, and support our Hindu brothers and sisters globally, all around the world. Thank you and namaste.
Namaste, Falguniji. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us and for the work you do. I would now like to call Dr. Sampath Shivangi, who is a practicing physician from Jacksonville, Mississippi. He is a longtime Republican leader and has attended several Republican conventions and has worked with past presidents. Thank you so much for being here and sharing with us your thoughts.
First of all, thank you so much, Usha and Dr. Kunat and all the family of your association. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be with you with some reservation, in a sense. Since we are the largest democratic country in the world, we have been discarded by the so-called superpowers of the world, including United States, USSR, or any European country, including England or Germany or France. Why is that? Why we are being ignored and discarded? That's because we don't have unity. Now, who is supporting Hindus or Hinduism in the US? Do you think President Biden is supporting us? Sorry, I'm a Republican for the last 45 years. I'm not saying I hate Democrats, but who has done more to India but for Republicans? I'll just give you an example. So you please follow that in a sense to reach out to your Republican leadership in your state, see what they can do for us. Let me start with present leadership. President Biden has not spoken a word against what is happening in Bangladesh or in India. Neither our would-be so-called president, Kamala Harris, hasn't spoken a word. She does not even say she's close to India or Hinduism or Hindus. See President Trump. He said he's a fan of India, he's a friend of India, Hindus. That's what he says. Just last week, he stated that. And I'm sure he went to India and he met millions of Hindus in Gujarat, Delhi, or wherever he went. He knows about India, and we should depend upon who will help us. I just want to give you an example. I'm in the Republican Party for 45 years, as I told you. even though I'm a Republican inclined, but I did go to India with President Clinton, who is a strong Democrat. And just to give an example, that time Prime Minister Vajpayee had a nuclear explosion in India, and President Clinton and his cabinet put a stop to any aid to India, and it was discarded as a third world country. And then he went to India, and I was invited by the White House to go with him. I went to India with him. He spoke in the Indian Parliament in New Delhi, both the houses, and we had, of course, talked to him to remove those sanctions, which was initiated by his presidency. And he promised us before he went to Parliament that he will speak against the sanctions and he will remove the sanctions right after he goes back to US. So he spoke very well, and we were expecting that he will go back to Washington and remove the sanctions. He had 6 months time. Actually, we went at the end of his second term, but still he didn't do a thing. He did not remove any sanctions, zero. They continued to be there. And then President George W. Bush came as president, and I met him because I was in his administration in the White House. I met him one-to-one. I said, President, do it for us. And within 30 days, he removed all the sanctions against India. It was imposed by Democrats, promised by Democrats that it will be removed, but never removed. George W. Bush has to come and remove the sanctions. Not only George W. Bush is a Republican, he is the only president in the US history who made US-India Civil Nuclear Treaty a milestone rule or milestone thing in the history of India and US relation. No, I'm not against a Democrat, but they have to stand by what they say. I respect Thanedar. He comes from my same village I come from. I'm a Kannada guy and he's Maharashtrian, but we're good friends. We're nothing against each other. I thank him for what he's doing and we appreciate his help. So I think if Kamala Harris wins, I don't know how much she's going to help, especially about the cause of Hinduism. And what happened in Bangladesh? My God. I mean, are we a third world country? We cannot defend our Hindu brethren who are being killed. Our temples are being destroyed. Why? I know Modi is a strong leader. I respect him tremendously. I think sometimes we have to stand tough with Bangladesh. Bangladesh is how it happened in Bangladesh. It is because of our sacrifice. Hundreds of thousands of Indian soldiers died, and we got them Bangladesh. Otherwise, it was East Pakistan. They should remember who helped them to build that nation. I think they are going against Hindus. Very, very unfortunate. I think Modi ji takes notice. I think he's doing his best. But if we stand together with the US Congress, US President, whoever it may be, Biden is not helping any. Kamala is nowhere near. If President Trump or his Vance, Vice President, I met both them last month in Milwaukee. Of course, it didn't happen that time, but if I have a chance, I'm going to talk to them. Actually, I'm going to Washington on next Monday. I plan to meet a lot of congressmen. I've met both the senators from Mississippi, and they are 100% with us. I think every leadership in each state, please meet your congressmen and senators. See if we can make a resolution in US Congress in favor of India. I'm not saying against Bangladesh, but we should coexist together. And why not, if we can have $105 billion, 105 billion people in India, if you take 1 more crore Hindus from Bangladesh into India. What is wrong with that? We can support, we can sustain that population if they decide to come. I'm not asking them to come. If they want to come, I think we should do it with open arms. We are already taking Pakistanis, Afghanis, why not Bangladeshis? I think we'll have a permanent peace, permanent solution to Bangladesh problem. I can go and speak for under 30 minutes, but other speakers, I'll be more than happy if you have any questions, anything you need, please call me and let me know. I'll be more than be with you and help you in whatever way. I'm going to work in the next week with the US Congress, Senate, and the President Biden. I don't know whether he will listen to me, but I'll try to reach through my senators and congressmen, send him a request to see if he can get involved and be done with the problem. Thousands and thousands of Hindus have been killed in 2024, unheard, unimaginable. I cannot. I'm too much Hindu, too much Indian. I cannot get this out of my blood. Sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sambhaji. That was very inspiring and motivating. And you can do a lot, and we hope to work with you closely in the future for the benefit of all. Our program is coming to an end, and I would like to reiterate the importance of coming together, working together, and being active so that we can save and we can help, we can support Hindus worldwide. And I request all those who are joining us today to be a part of USHA as a member, volunteer, donor, in any capacity that you can. Please join us. We have a lot of work to do for the benefit of Hindus and the world. I request Sohini to say a few words, and we can conclude the event.
Thank you all so much for being here. I think we are waiting still on one last speaker. If they're able to join, we will pause and cut to them. But আমাদের থেকে অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ যারা দেশের থেকে জয়েন করছে. We pray for your safety and your well-being and your health. Please let us know what we can do to help. I know there are so many people here in North America, especially youth, young people, students that are sending me messages asking what can we do to help. So whatever we can do, please let us know, and we will do our best. We pray for everyone's safety, and we will continue doing what we can here in terms of spreading the message, spreading awareness. I think, unfortunately, there are so many people who are not aware of what's been going on for decades and what is going on right now. So there are a lot of young people, youth out there that are working on spreading awareness of what's going on and waking up even Hindus to what's going on. I think there's been a lot of silence for decades. There has been a lot of misinformation, and we are working our hardest to wake up the world to understanding the pain and suffering that's going on, the anxiety, the fear, and the violence that's happening to Hindu minorities in many countries. But in this program specifically, we're focusing on the current situation in Bangladesh. So I would like to I think I will actually, I'm getting a message from our last speaker. So I will turn it back over to Gokulji for some additional remarks, and I will try to get that last speaker on board.
Namaste again. As it is made clear by so many other speakers before, we cannot be silent when injustice is done to us, and we can only help if we are politically strong. So there are many initiatives that we and many other Hindu organizations have taken up to strengthen ourselves, to unify ourselves. So I urge all of you to be part of this effort and support unity, strength, and empowerment. If any of you are interested in joining Usha, please also visit our website, ushaonline.org. That is ushaonline.org. And let us take from this event all the messages that we have received from our spiritual leaders, the scholars, the human rights advocates, as well as the political leaders who have shared their thoughts. Thank you.
I think we will be having one more speaker join us, but as I work on getting that connected, I would love if we could have Praveen Sharmaji, who's the General Secretary of Usha, to give some vote of thanks and some closing remarks, and then I'll see if I can get that last speaker on.
Namaste, everybody. So this is the concluding phase of our summit today. As we have heard from everyone, all the speakers, what we need to do as Hindus, as individually and as society. The main lessons over history that we have learned should never be forgotten, and that is we need to strengthen our hard power. We have forgotten to fight for our rights. We think it is good if we individually or within our household we are happy and successful, but that is not enough. It is not enough for the society to survive in these modern times. I just wonder what our ancestors have gone through with these invading armies and fanatics. We can see the sample of it in today's videos and news items coming out of Bangladesh. That is just very Danavi. Even the Rakshas would be better than what our Hindu brothers are facing in Bangladesh. Okay, so I will continue after we hear from our last speaker, Neeraj Antani ji.
All right, thank you so much, Praveenji. So I now have Senator Neeraj Antani ji on the call. He is a young and dynamic Hindu politician representing the people as an Ohio state senator. He will discuss the importance of young Hindus entering politics to create a better America.
Well, thank you, Sohini, and thank you, Gokul, for having me. I'm so sorry I can't join by camera. I am traveling and not in a place where I can be in front of a camera, but hope you can hear me okay. I'm very proud to be the first Hindu American state senator in Ohio history and the youngest Hindu American state or federal elected official in the country. And, this call is so important to advocate for the Bangladeshi Hindus that are being attacked, that are on the run, that are trying to survive in the violence in Bangladesh. What we do here in America in advocacy for them is incredibly important. We need the federal government to tell now the interim government in Bangladesh, the UNIS government, that absolutely it is their responsibility to protect the Hindu minority in Bangladesh. And then whenever there's a permanent government, we need our government to tell them that they must protect the Hindu minority. And if they don't, our government must place sanctions on them in order to force them to protect the Hindu minority. This is incredibly important that this happens. And I think that we're starting to see members of Congress speak up on behalf of Bangladeshi Hindus. That's great. We can do more of that. And that is incumbent upon all of us, calling our members of Congress, emailing them, talking to them, to get them to pressure the federal administration, the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, to send this message to the interim government in Bangladesh. And that's incredibly important. And look, what is happening in Bangladesh obviously has happened before in 1971 and otherwise. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. That has to be our paramount priority. And I think that it is the job of all of us, Hindus across the country, to work towards that goal. And I'm very honored and proud to be a part of that. And, we'll work with our community in order to do that. Look, this is, I think, an incredibly important time. We see how easy it is for Hinduism to be under attack. What is happening in Bangladesh can happen many other places. And so this is an incredibly important inflection point for our community to stand up and say, look, you will not attack our temples. You will not attack Hindus. You will not attack Hindu women. And so working together, we can accomplish that. And so, let me thank Gokul and his team for hosting this call. And anything I can do to be helpful, I will be there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Senator Nirajantani ji. We appreciate you joining us from the road, and we wish you the best. And thank you so much for supporting Hindus in so many different causes and being here today. All right. With that, I would like to bring back Praveen Sharma ji to continue the vote of thanks.
Okay, namaste everybody again. So I would like to thank Pujya Swami Paramatmanand Saraswati ji, Pujya Jagat Guru Shankaracharya, Shri Abhinav Shankara Bharti ji, Pujya Shri Vish Prasanna Tirath Swami ji, Pujya Shri Sugnendra Tirath Swami ji, Dr. Sachi Dastidar ji, Shri Dhiman Dev Chaudhary ji, Dr. Andrew Bostom ji, Srimati Mausmi Sarkar ji, Dr. Ajay Shah, Shri Baba Jain, Manya Shri Alok Kumar ji, Congressman Shri Thanedar ji, Faguni Pandya ji, Dr. Sampat Shivangi ji, and Neeraj ji. Again, our viewers, participants, Gokul ji, Sohini ji, and our production and technical team volunteers who hosted this event. That's all, and that will be the conclusion of this event. Gokul ji, you have to say something? Namaste.